Welcome to the Sisterhood of Sweat. I am here today with Allison Melody. Allison Melody is an eco-entrepreneur with a passion for film, fitness, and food. As a podcast host, film producer, author, and international speaker, Allison's mission is to inspire people to the body's incredible ability to heal itself when given the tools it needs to do so. Allison is the host of the Food Heals podcast, being hailed as Sex in the City for Food. Food Heals brings together experts in the field of nutrition, health, and healing to teach you the best kept natural secrets to being a hotter, healthier, happier you. As a filmmaker for the past 15 years, Allison has directed and produced documentary films, PSAs, commercials, and music videos on the topics of social justice, human rights, and public health. In 2019, her documentary, Powered by Plants, debuted at the French Riviera Fest in Cannes, France. Additionally, Allison consults with small businesses and brands to help successful wellness entrepreneurs build wellness empires and create more impact, influence, and income in their business. You can get her book, Food Heals: Physical, Emotional, and Spiritual Stories to Nourish Your Soul and Transform Your Health, on Amazon. Today was so great. I am going to start you guys off with a quote by the great Maya Angelou. Our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. It is our light, not our darkness, that most frightens us. We ask ourselves, who am I to be brilliant, gorgeous, talented, fabulous? Actually, who are you not to be? You are a child of God. Your playing small does not serve the world. There is nothing enlightened about shrinking so that other people won't feel insecure around you. We are all meant to shine as children do. And I love how Allison Melody says in her book, it is impossible to be a fraud when you are your true self. Your authentic self, and not to worry about the people that don't feel comfortable about that, how to heal your inner child, how to celebrate your wins and not be afraid that the other shoe is going to drop. Allison tells her story. It is so inspiring how she turned her trauma into her purpose, and she gives us the tools to turn tragedy into triumph. We talk about an important question that many of us may ask when we may be ill, a loved one could be sick, friends, and that is, does nutrition matter? And Allison nails that question today. So you have to listen to find out, does nutrition matter? She talks about how the body heals and how food heals, and how she started her business and had lost everything. At 25, she was orphaned. Her parents both passed away, and she lost all of her security financially as well, and how she rebuilt her entire life based on her pain. So inspiring today. She told us some amazing healing stories of people that have healed themselves through nutrition, so through food. We talk about the importance of a healthy mouth, like your teeth. And she gave us all kinds of tools to help with our health, empowering ourselves, and giving ourselves permission to do the things that we want in life, to take better care of ourselves, and just be more empowered. You guys, this episode was amazing. I could have talked to Allison forever. She is such a beautiful soul. You guys are going to love her. So without further ado, let's dive into this podcast with the one, the only, Allison Melody. I am so excited to welcome Allison Melody to the Sisterhood of Sweat today. Welcome.
I'm so honored to be with the sisterhood, Linda. Thanks for having me.
Oh, that's perfect. Like, I've always wanted sisters. I had a bunch of girls I grew up next door to, and they were like my sisters, but I never had any sisters. So part of creating the sisterhood is, with that ambition in mind, but also I found myself in a dire situation once upon a time where I needed support. And, I was in an abusive marriage and I needed support and I wanted to create what I needed. And so that is where the Sisterhood of Sweat came from. And I think a lot of times we take our pain and we turn it into purpose, which is what I love so much about you, Allison. I've been listening to some of your podcasts and reading your book, and it's so inspiring to see how you took pain and trauma and turned your purpose into such a huge mission. Can you tell all the listeners your story and dive into a little bit of how you transformed from your rock bottom moment to where you are now?
Absolutely, Linda. Thank you for all of that. Very sweet of you to say. And I appreciate that you have been reading the books and listening to the podcast as I have been listening to Sisterhood of Sweat as well. And I agree with you about the sisterhood because I didn't have sisters growing up. And so with the story I'm about to share to you, it would have been a lot better if I had had sisters and brothers to go through the trauma that I went through with. And so that's why my friends are my family today. And so to take you back, I'll try to keep it brief and then, we can delve deeper if that would serve your audience. But essentially, I found myself at about 19 years old in college, living the college dream, and my mother was diagnosed with cancer. This was shocking. We had no prior idea that this could even happen. Now, she did have multiple sclerosis, and so that's an autoimmune condition, and she was on a lot of medication for that, but it seemed to be maintaining. She was in pain, but she wasn't deteriorating rapidly. Well, with the cancer diagnosis, she deteriorated very rapidly in front of us. It was, everyone says, what kind of cancer was it? Well, it's called carcinoma of unknown origin, which means cancer is riveting all over the body, ravaged your body. We can't find the cause, therefore we don't have a treatment for it, but here's some chemo, here's some radiation, maybe we'll do some experimental surgery and we'll see what we can do. And we'll see what we can do led to, 6 months of her losing her hair, losing her vitality, just withering away in front of our eyes and leading to her passing away, which ended up being about a year later, I believe. And it was the month before I graduated from college. So here I was, a young, naive college student, just like, gosh, is there anything else that we could have done? You start to question, what is nutrition? What is the role of nutrition? And so at the very end, I asked the doctor, does nutrition matter? And he said no. I went on with my life. Thank gosh I had my dad at that time to help me with the grieving process. But, I was watching him and his bad habits and eating the standard American diet, which at the time I didn't realize how toxic that could be. And then taking a lot of pharmaceutical drugs because, once you hit 55, they just give you a bunch of pills to regulate everything in your body that we now know food can do, but I didn't know it at the time. And then drinking and smoking as well, just unhealthy dietary habits on a regular basis. And so I started researching, kind of lecturing him like, Dad, maybe don't smoke, maybe don't drink. But, people are like, okay, sweetheart, like, tell me more about this nutrition thing. Started making him some green juice and things like that. And he was just not into it. Well, I wasn't too concerned, but I should have been more concerned because he went to the doctor and I could tell he was in poor health. He started like hobbling around, could barely walk, was having stomach pains. And I said, what does the doctor say? Doctor says I'm in perfect health. I kid you not, a month or two later, he goes back to the doctor and he's diagnosed with stage 4 cancer. Why this wasn't seen before, I couldn't tell you. So now I'm faced with this. Now my mom's passed away of cancer. My father now has stage 4 liver cancer. And again, nutrition is not on the table. It is just, here's a bunch of poisonous medications, drugs, surgery, radiation, and we'll see what happens. And what happened was he withered away even more quickly than my mom and used the same oncologist that my mother had used. And again, I was stressing nutrition, nutrition, nutrition. He said, there are no studies to corroborate the nutrition in cancer. Well, now it's so clear, you know, sugar feeds cancer. There are all these things. An acidic diet feeds cancer. When we alkalize our bodies, cancer cannot survive. There are all these things that I now know that I didn't know back then. And so tragically, I lost my father to cancer as well. And as an only child, you can imagine the devastation. So at 25 years old, I was essentially an orphan, and I had to start my life over. And I lost the home I was living in. I lost everything. I lost my family. I lost my sense of stability and security. And I had to start from scratch. And that's when I really started to find my passion for food and nutrition, and moved myself to California from North Carolina, because that's what you do in trauma. You get out, you go somewhere crazy, you know. And when I got there, I started meeting all of these people, all of these clients. I had a film degree. I was doing photography, videography, editing. That was what I knew how to do to make money. And all of my clients just so happened to have these incredible healing stories. So one of the women that I met, I was taking her pregnancy photos, and she said, you know, this baby is a miracle because I had ovarian cancer, and the doctors, what they wanted to do to me most likely would have left me barren. But I healed myself with a juice cleanse and with a plant-based diet, and also emotional healing. She got a divorce and got herself out of a toxic relationship. So I'm hearing all these stories of miraculous transformations through food, through nutrition, through alternative medicine. And I just knew it had to be my mission to spread this to the world, so that what happened to my parents did not have to happen to other people, and that people who are diagnosed with these chronic degenerative lifestyle diseases could have hope that there were other options out there for them to heal, and become educated and inspired that the body is designed to heal itself when given the tools it needs to do so. But my parents weren't given the tools. They didn't know what the tools were. And so with education and awareness, then we can all change our habits, change our lives, help our loved ones. And so that's my mission of Food Heals and what I do today.
Oh, that's so beautiful. And so you said so much, like in
Sorry.
what I mean, so much. I want to back up just a little bit to the
Sure.
fact, you know, when you asked the question, which I think many of us have asked, because my father was 84 and they found that he had colon cancer at 84. And so they went in and cut out the colon cancer, which someday I think we're going to find out is pseudoscience, because you got to heal like from the inside out and work on what the surface is, you know, the workable surface. How are your cells performing, and you know, healing the body like what you're talking about. And so he didn't want to take poison therapy, he called it. So he did not elect to do chemotherapy. I wish like that his doctor didn't tell him the same answer as your doctor. No, nutrition doesn't matter, because I think that that is such a disservice to people out there, and that you can change your body and all of your cells, and every 7 years we change completely. And you know, when you cut yourself, I mean, how amazing is it that it's not wrecked? Your body isn't wrecked. It can heal itself. And so when you started seeking the answer to that question, what did you discover?
I love everything that you just said, and I completely agree. So what I started discovering was, for myself, I first discovered nutrition. Now, some people discover alternative medicine and acupuncture or spirituality or therapy or emotional healing first, and everyone has their own journey. Now I think it's all encompassing and multifactorial towards healing. But first I discovered that there were so many people in the world that I had never heard of, because it's not in the mainstream media, who were healing themselves of stage 4 cancer and chronic degenerative diseases, lots of autoimmune conditions, chronic pain, all of these things by starting with the body, alkalizing the body with healing nutritional foods. So what does that look like? Well, it looks different for every person. That's why you can't cut and burn it out. As you were saying, when you do a surgery, such as taking something out, you're not addressing the root cause. So that's really a temporary fix, because if you don't fix the root of the problem, the cancer will most likely come back. And so that's why we see all these recurrences of cancer after we cut and burn it out. It comes back because the root issue was, well, this person was eating this substance that their body was acting as a toxin or whatever, I don't know what it was.
Yeah.
And they're still doing the same lifestyle. Perhaps they're just eating the standard American diet and they eat a burger and fries every day. That is the toxic material in our bodies that our body doesn't know what to do with. And when we're overloaded with toxins and not detoxing, and we're getting inflammation throughout the body, that's when disease begins, right? And so they say like disease begins in the gut. And so what do we have to look at? We have to look at our food and nutrition. So what I found, to answer your question, is that all of these people were healing themselves. And the most commonality of all of the healing was green juicing and plant-based dieting. Doesn't mean you have to do it for the rest of your life. Doesn't mean you have to do it completely extreme. It just means when you start doing that, your body starts to heal because you're giving it the tools it needs to do so. So some people went really extreme and some people were somewhere in the middle, but the greens heal, right? The food heals. So they stopped eating the foods that were killing them, started eating the foods that were healing them, and then most of them also went on some sort of emotional, spiritual journey as well, whether it was adding in meditation, dealing with childhood trauma, because a lot of times our emotions can be stored in our bodies and then turn into dis-ease. And so most people
100%.
Right. And so it's nutrition, it's mind, body, spirit healing, it's alternative medicine. There's all kinds of amazing doctors out there doing things besides cut and burn, and they just weren't being talked about. And so I was like, I'm going to talk about this.
You know what? I love how your mission was birthed out of pain. And I think like, it's like this beautiful thing that came out of a terrible tragedy. And I love how you flipped it to a positive for everyone out there, anybody listening to us today, to realize that one simple question that you asked, does nutrition matter? Oh my goodness. Yes. Yes. 1,000 times. Yes, it does matter. And how we treat this body that we've been given that will heal itself, it matters 1,000%. Like if you treated your car bad and you had a Maserati that you spent all this money on, but you didn't give it the right fuel and you ran it ragged, it wouldn't last very long, even if it's just like the best car ever. So why would we treat our bodies in this way? And I just love everything that you've done with your Food Heals Nation. And I want to kind of dive into, here you were like 25 years old. You've lost your parents, your source of security. You lost everything financially. And I mean, this is probably like your, oh shit moment. Like, what am I going to do? Right. So how did you pull yourself out of that? Give us some tools for anybody out there that maybe they're in their rock bottom moment right now.
I think my biggest tool, and it's like, I almost hate to say it because it's so cliche, but I'm going to say it and don't murder me, is gratitude. Because we can all wallow in our misery, and you should give yourself a moment, cry, throw a pillow, get angry, do what you need to do, but don't hold it in. So to not hold it in, I would do all kinds of emotional practices, writing things down, journaling, writing and then burning, getting the feelings out of me, finding all the things that I could be grateful for, because otherwise, you get in this self-sabotaging victim-y cycle. And this is what happens to a lot of people who suffer from PTSD, depression, and anxiety, is that they don't resolve their trauma, and therefore it is always a part of them. And
it's always repeating.
Yeah, without dealing with it, it's like it just stays in you, and you can't, it's like a cycle you can't get out, and you don't know why. And I don't blame anyone.
Right.
But I had to practice the tools that I was learning. So it's like, oh, I learned about meditation. Did I do it? No, not at first. Right. But like they say, yoga is a practice, exercise. You have to do, you can't just do it once and you have the perfect body, right? You have to continue to work out, right? You own a gym, you got it. It's like you have to continually practice the healing tools that you know work for you. And that includes nutrition, it includes mind, body, spirit healing, it includes surrounding myself with good people who care about me and will help pick me up when I fall, getting rid of toxic people, toxic food, toxic things, toxic thoughts. And I'm not saying it's easy, it's certainly a journey, but if I can do it, anyone can do it, because I didn't know what I was doing. I feel like back then I was just a little girl who was wide-eyed, just like, what happened to my world, you know? And then I had to figure it out and grow up real quick and become an adult. And it doesn't mean I'm healed or I'm done. I still miss my family every day, but it means as long as I'm practicing the tools, I can live a full, vibrant, healthy life. And when I find myself falling off, I know I have the tools to go back to. And if I don't, it could look really bad and I don't want to go there. And so I think it's just everyone figuring out the tools that work for you and starting with, I'm grateful for. And if you don't like gratitude because it's so overused in the spiritual world and whatever, just say, what brings me joy? And I was like, what brings me joy? Singing. Go sing in your car, go sing karaoke, whatever it is. What brings you joy? What lights you up? Dogs, you know, friends, family members who make you laugh, a funny movie if you're alone. What lights you up? Do that. Incorporate that like you do eating every day, you know?
Because it's like light in healing medicine to be happy. It sends off 1,000 different chemicals in our bodies, just like pain, just like anger, happiness. I mean, it's going to send off good chemicals in the body. And I love how you said about the trauma, because what I find with my work, which is transformation, that to help somebody to fully transform, you have to know what's going on with them, because it's all about the heart and it's about the mind, and then the body follows. And it's the toxic thinking, it's the toxic things that you say to yourself, it's the toxic foods that you put in your body, and just the overall way you're treating yourself. I mean, do you ever stop and examine and ask yourself questions? Because I just think that's the best teaching tool ever. How am I treating myself? Is this really good for me? Is this really the way that I want to be living? Am I showing up for myself in the way I would for a friend? And if the answer is no to all these questions, then that self-examination is going to take you to a better place where you start trying to, heal and fix the things. And I know it's hard to go down deep inside. I imagine for you, healing all that trauma was not an easy thing, but look at what came out of it. Now your story is helping countless other people. And I love the fact that you say a food heals story. Like, what is a food heals story? I was looking in your book at, tell us what one is, and then maybe give us an example of one of your favorite stories.
Sure. There's so many in the book and on the podcast. And the reason I wrote the book and do the show is I wanted to provide a platform for people to share their stories so they could inspire listeners who might know a little bit and wanted to learn more or wanted to share with a loved one. Because I just created what I didn't have when I was in my early 20s, what didn't exist. Back then, it wasn't like you just went on YouTube and found videos about everything or podcasts about everything. It just wasn't in the common lexicon. I don't even know if YouTube was a thing yet. If it was probably just for cat videos. But so I created a platform for people to really be inspired by the stories. And so in the book, I say, what is a food heal story? And I don't remember my exact answer in the book, but essentially it's a story of someone who has healed a chronic degenerative type of condition or disease using mind, body, spirit, and nutrition. And so the theme throughout the book is eat more plants, love yourself. Those are some of the common themes that come through. But it's usually Western medicine failed them or a family member, and they could not figure out the problem, the root cause. They couldn't find a solution, a treatment. They went from doctor to doctor. No one could help them. And somewhere along their journey, they discovered, oh, I have this food allergy, or oh, I'm going to do this juice cleanse, or I'm going to change my diet. And then, or in some cases, I'm going to leave an unsafe situation or family member or divorce or something like that. And they were able to completely change their lives and heal their bodies. So there's lots of stories in the book. So many favorites. I've got Joe Cross from Fat, Sick, and Nearly Dead. He healed himself of chronic urticaria, which is an autoimmune condition. He lost 100 pounds, and it was all by changing his diet and juicing. He got off all his medications, and he looks amazing today. And that was years ago now. He's featured in the book. Another person that's featured in the book is NBA basketball player John Sally. He was suffering from a multitude of issues, and he did one colonic, and he lost 12 pounds, changed his diet, went plant-based, did some acupuncture, and completely, he's a vegan advocate and activist today. Has so many good stories. I've got stories from doctors, from Western medicine doctors who changed their practices because they realized that they weren't healing their patients, and they found nutrition, and some of them went back and got another degree in naturopathy or something like that so that they could help people with nutrition. So we've got stories from regular people, from celebrities, from nutritionists and doctors. So whoever you are, there's probably someone that you can relate to. And it's impossible to cover every disease, but we have a lot of different conditions. So if it's about weight loss, about cancer, about autoimmune, about high blood pressure, there's probably a story in there. And the truth is that plants heal and food heals whatever the ailment or condition is. So you don't always need to look for a specific protocol that's designed for this one thing. It's like, eat more plants, move a little more, your body's going to start to heal. And when you need the deeper next level healing, you go to that functional medicine practitioner who's going to discover, what are your food allergies? What are your sensitivities? What are some of the hormones that you're lacking? What is your body not producing? And when you discover exactly what you're missing, what you have too much of, you can create the perfect diet and supplement regimen for yourself, for your body. And so I do interview Dr. Stephen Cabral, functional medicine practitioner, in the book. He tells his story of having so many ailments. The doctors couldn't help him. He healed himself. So it's just story after story after story of people taking their health into their own hands, stop outsourcing their health to their friends, family, and doctors, taking their health back through nutrition and mind, body, spirit. So hopefully I answered your question, but that's pretty much what a food heals story is.
I love people's stories. I mean, I could probably do that all day, just like diving into people's stories. I find them so interesting. And what you said about doctors being in Western medicine and really getting a hold of changing their ideology and getting into more holistic approach. I don't know why I just had this epiphany when I was sitting there remembering when I was working at a gym and I was raising two kids by myself because I had to leave a bad situation, and that was how I was making ends meet. And I remember when it became like the people weren't important. They were treating them like they were a number, and it was all about just sell, sell, sell. And that wasn't what I was about. That wasn't why I got involved. And I wanted to see a difference and make a change in people's lives. And so there came a point in my career where it was, like a fork in the road moment. And I had to choose. Am I going to keep doing what I've always done? Or am I going to follow this vision and this thing that's inside of me that I want to do? Even though I can't see the whole staircase, I can only take the step. And it's scary because it's unknown. And I remember, just having my own ideas about what I wanted in a place. And so now evolving from that moment, which was quite a few years ago, to this moment where I'm in my facility. I'm so much gratitude about the people's lives that are changing, the support that women feel, the just the gratitude of just being a part, a catalyst for healing emotionally, physically, and just giving women that soft place to fall, all for making a choice and a decision about what I wanted to see. And I love how these doctors, it's the same type of process where you know there's something better. And that's how you create your own vision, by the way, and stand out in the marketplace. And you have certainly done that. I would love to talk a little bit about how your business has evolved to where it is and just your vision and your mission for Food Heals.
Sure, no problem. Well, before my father died, he imparted lots of entrepreneurial wisdom on me. He was a person that just had multiple businesses throughout his life, construction business, his own law practice, buying and selling homes. He was just the entrepreneur since I met him. And so he would always say things like, work hard, build a business, hire people smarter than you to run it, scale it, take the profits off the top. Otherwise, do you want fries with that? Like, so he would just say things like, if you don't work hard and build something scalable, then you'll be, working at McDonald's. And so that fear always stuck with me. And I also am kind of unemployable because I can't take direction. I'm a Sagittarius and a rebel personality type. So if someone tells me what to do and how to do it, I go, no, I'm going to do it this way and I'm going to do it better. So I'm very unemployable. It's very hard for me to have a boss, but I can have clients because they want to know my wisdom, and we can help each other in that way. So I graduated from film school and I just started a production company with my skills and knowledge and my video camera, and it just grew and grew and grew. And I was out in LA working for years. And so I built this film production business with clients, and at first, I loved it. It was amazing. I thought it was so cool. I learned so much. And then it just started to become more of a labor project, less of a love project.
You were enjoying.
Yeah, and I had started Food Heals as a blog, as a YouTube channel, and it hadn't gone anywhere. But then I started the podcast, and that's when everything changed for me with the Food Heals brand, because that's when I found the audience that was looking for the content that I wanted to share. So as Food Heals started to grow as a show and a business, I started to shut down the film production company. And even though that was hard and sad because I had put my blood, sweat, and tears into it, I knew it was my next step and it was my mission to really get out the word of food and nutrition. And so Food Heals started to grow. Film production finally went away. I'll still dabble in it from time to time, but essentially my business now is Food Heals, which is the brand, the book, and the podcast. And the mission, as you know, is just to encourage and inspire people to the fact that a healing miracle is always possible, and the body is designed to heal itself when given the tools that it needs to do so. And so that's the current business. And hey, I don't know what I want to be when I grow up. I might be doing something completely different in 5 years. I've got lots of ideas all the time, but right now Food Heals is just where my heart's at.
Well, and I love that because we're not cement. We can evolve and transition and build on the next thing. Like, all of your skills were given to you for a reason. All the things that you go through, the dumb things, the great things. Like, I think everything happens for us, not to us. And that, like, when I did some of the dumbest things, I'm like, oh my gosh, that's really serving me well now. Some of the things that I really did not enjoy.
Right.
And I can look back and think, oh, wow, that path took me to where I am right now. And so I guess don't hate upon your path, and look for the good and look for the gift in everything that is happening. Even the worst tragedies can bring the best miracles, I think.
Absolutely.